I was trying to think of an interesting way to open up this review, something about the lasting usefulness of physical books in an ever-growing digital age. Well, that's pretty much the case here, and it comes in the form of an informational compendium about the Super Nintendo. What's so great about this one? Let's check it out. Before we do, I'd like to mention that I do have an anecdote included in this book that was a voluntary submission. I wasn't paid to contribute, but I was given a copy of the book for review. Yeah, I'm in the book. Church here, and welcome to the Game Grinder. Today we'll be reviewing the SNES Omnibus, the Super Nintendo and its games, Volume 1, A through M. This is the latest book by author Brett Weiss, and it was published by Schiffer Publishing Limited. If you're unfamiliar with Brett Weiss but the name sounds familiar, this is actually the second time I've covered his work. Back in February of 2016, I reviewed one of the entries into his Classic Home Video Game series, Classic Home Video Games 1989 to 1990, which covered the Sega Genesis, Neo Geo, and TurboGrafx-16 libraries. I also have his book, The 100 Greatest Console Video Games 1977 to 1987, which at least at the time was the only top 100 video game book there is. Both fantastic books, but enough about those. What about the SNES Omnibus? The SNES Omnibus, the Super Nintendo and its games, Volume 1, A through M, is exactly what it sounds like. This book covers the official catalog of the Super Nintendo, more specifically the first 350 games from A through M, where the rest will be covered in Volume 2. Each game is given a full page including a detailed description of what the game is and its basics by Brett Weiss. These descriptions aren't necessarily reviews as he's telling you about what the games are, though there are times when it's apparent he enjoys a game more and he enjoys a game less. I actually really like this approach as a lot of video games have very subjective receptions. Of course, what's a good game synopsis without the box art and screenshots? Well, you won't be missing out here either. Each game has plenty of visuals to help give you an idea of what it's about. When it comes to video games, I find even just a screenshot is hugely significant when teaching an audience what it's about. Sometimes there's other artwork or ads from the game included as well. Each game also has two included sections. First being what is the notable quotable, which are quotes often taken from previous articles and reviews by gaming magazines and websites. These are especially neat because many of them come from the time when the games were released and gives a little bit more perspective of that time versus us looking back and trying to take that into consideration when talking about these over 20-year-old games. The other included segment are the Insider Insights. Of course, I mentioned that I was able to get an anecdote in this book, and this section is where you will find mine. I wrote about a memory of my childhood involving Cybernator. All of the games have a little story bit from other folks related to video games, whether other authors, game reviewers, YouTubers, professional gamers, and other professionals from the industry. Much like what I do on YouTube, and the kind of content I enjoy from smaller content creators is exactly this, the personalized memories and thoughts about video games. To be fair, I'm not terribly familiar with many of the industry folks included, but Jeffrey Wittenhagen is one of the standouts, but also folks like Editor-in-Chief of Gaming Rebellion, or the previous editor of Electronic Gaming Monthly. But I do know many of the YouTube personalities included, like my friend the Old Ass Retro Gamer, and other notable YouTubers in the retro circle like John Riggs, RGT85. To me, this is largely what the book is about. Not only telling and showing the reader what each game is, but what these games meant to someone. Sometimes a description of a game only provides so much, but how is that game received? Does it remain relevant and meaningful over so many years? We all know this answer, and largely why we are all here. The book has a fantastic layout and an eye-catching design. The book is quite large, being 11 inches by 9.5, and is nearly 1.5 inches thick. This bad boy has some weight to it as well. No cheap materials used here. The book is hardcover with a nice slipcover to go with it. It's 416 pages of full-color, high-quality gloss paper, and it weighs a few pounds. The SNES Omnibus, the Super Nintendo and its games, Volume 1, A through M, is an absolutely fantastic book covering the Super Nintendo. Great information, great community inclusion, and great presentation. Being familiar with Brett Weiss's previous works, I didn't expect anything less, and getting the opportunity to contribute was a no-brainer for me. If you get the chance to check it out, do it. You can also find this book via your usual book purchasing options such as Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and be sure to check out Brett Weiss's other stuff. They are quality. Thanks for checking out my review of the SNES Omnibus, the Super Nintendo and its games, Volume 1, A through M. What were your thoughts on the book? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked what you've seen or heard, please give the video a like, a share, and subscribe to see future videos. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and post a lot of other great game-related content there, and links are in the description. Until next time on the Game Grinder.